in January, I went on a slight historical romance kick. I'd actually burned out on historical romance earlier this year, and I haven't been reading as much of them, but in January, I just felt like reading them again, so I went a little hog wild. The Madness of Lord Ian McKenzie, the first book in the Highland Pleasures historical romance series by Jennifer Ashley. It's about a 19th century Scottish lord who spent his childhood in an asylum because he was brilliant but odd, and a widow who has recently inherited a fortune. I liked his character a lot, but the trappings around that, the plot, secondary characters, etc., I thought were weakly done and not well thought out. McAllisters Fortune, the third book in the historical romance Providence series by Alyssa Johnson. I'd actually read this book before, but forgot to mark it as read in Goodreads. Oops. So I reread it accidentally. It's not my favorite book, but I'm not pissed that I reread it. It's very likable. It's about Evie Cole. A carriage accident as a child has left her with a scar and a limp, and it's about James McAllister, a retired assassin who has been living as a hermit nearby for many years. Simple Jess, the second book in the Marrying Stone historical romance series by Pamela Morrissey. I haven't actually read the first one in this series, as this book is supposed to be the best of the series. And it was pretty amazing. It's set in Arkansas, where a man everyone calls Simple Jess is hired by widow Althea Winslow to work her farm. He's a character you don't find often in romance novels, and I found this book refreshing and thoroughly heartwarming. Highly, highly recommend. This is actually the second time I've read this book, and I'm sure I'll end up reading it for a third time in the future. Because I loved reading Simple Jess so much, I immediately had to buy another Pamela Morrissey book, which was Courting Miss Hattie. It's about 29-year-old spinster Hattie Colfax finally attracting a suitor, and how her longtime farmhand Reed Tyler reacts. It's not as brilliant as Simple Jess, but it's still a cute read, especially the scenes where he teaches her to kiss. My Lord Scandal, the first book in the historical romance series Notorious Bachelors by Emma Wilds. It's kind of a combo star-crossed lover's tale meets the plotline of an experienced rake falls for innocent but eager virgin. I vacillated on this one. It didn't really all come together in a great way, and the beginning was almost laughable, but the relationship from about the halfway point through to the end was written well enough that I kinda liked it. Three Nights of Sin, a historical romance book by Anne Mallory. It's about a young lady of good but poor family who comes seeking an underworld legend who is rumored to offer help in exchange for 3 favors. Once again, in the tradition of all great romance novels, the title of this book really has nothing to do with the story. There are certainly more than 3 Nights of Sin, and even the 3 favors she's supposedly eventually going to owe him at some shadowy future point just seem to get forgotten. Though perhaps he gets his 3 favors after they're married. So nothing original in this book, but it was still pleasantly diverting, so gonna go with a like on this one. His Every Kiss, the second book in the Guilty series, historical romance books by Laura Lee Gerke. I struggled with how to rate this. On one hand, I thought the tortured artist and the reluctant once burned views storyline was actually pretty engaging. Where I struggled was with the leading man's character arc. I think a little more time was needed spent on his change of heart for it to be utterly convincing. However, I'm still leaning towards I liked it, as the basic storyline was interesting, and I'm just going to mentally bolster up his character arc in my mind to make up for the inherent deficiencies. Goddess of the Hunt, the first book in the Wonton Dairymaid trilogy, a set of historical romances by Tessa Dare. It's a really good version of young lady has her eye on winning a certain gentleman and so enlists the reluctant help of a long-time family friend to teach her how to seduce him. As I put it on Goodreads, this one was just fun. I enjoyed that book so much, I immediately went on to pick up the second book in the series, Surrender of a Siren. And I don't know what to do here, people! Parts of this book were so ridiculous, but at other times I really liked the characters. Still going slightly more toward the didn't like side though. Tessa Dare can and has written much better books. See aforementioned first book of the series. Flawless, the first book in the Christie series by Carrie Lofty, which is about an estranged couple who must join forces to try to run a diamond business in Africa. I don't know, I almost liked it, but it just wasn't executed to where I like it, and I'm not sure on how it treated the whole Africa diamond history thing. I don't think I'm going to continue on with this series. As You Desire, the first book in the Braxton historical romance series by Connie Brockway. It's set in Egypt and is about the melodramatic but genius Desdemona and Harry, who is continually having to pull her out of some scrape or another. The only note I wrote down in Goodreads was, "Oh, it was cute!" So if you like that type of storyline, check it out. It was extremely cute. Okay, read any of these? What did you think? Any good historical romance books to recommend to me?